China's Communist Party Congress is over for another 5 years, but what have we learnt about the future of China and perhaps also about President Xi Jinping? Let's bring in Kerry Allen, one of our BBC China analysts at BBC Monitoring. Now they take a look at the world's media. Kerry, good to have you back on the programme. How would you summarise, or perhaps we should even explain first, what the Communist Party Congress is and how important it is to the running of the country?
Well, the Communist Party Congress it happens every 5 years, and it's when the government in China elects their top person and surrounding people into power. So this year it became very clear that Xi Jinping was going to run for another term, and he was going to be cemented as the top figure in China's government. And normally what happens with the Communist Party when they have these national congresses is that the president signals who may be the president in the next 5 years. But this year there's been a lot of focus around Xi Jinping, and particularly this idea of Xi Jinping thought, and it's really kind of cemented the idea that he may actually run for another 5 years because he's been almost promoted to the same kind of ideologies as Mao Zedong or Deng Xiaoping. So right back at the beginning of when the Communist Party was founded. So a lot of media coverage we've seen over the past week has really kind of cemented him as a central figure in Chinese politics, and the idea that he's going to be somebody that children of today, they read about in their textbooks and for years to come.
So no successor, and that thought about textbooks. So we can expect for regular people that walk into a bookstore in Beijing, for example, to have Xi Jinping taught in various books and analysis of what that means.
Oh, absolutely. And in China anyway, at the moment, if you go into bookstores, you will see these massive racks and racks of Maoism, Maoist thought, and same for Deng Xiaoping. And these are literally absolutely huge. You go in bookstores and they're about 7 stories high, and you'll have literally an entire aisle full of books. So there's already been a book that Xi Jinping brought out a couple of years ago on his governance, and he talked about some of the things that he'd changed since coming to power. So, for example, he abolished the one-child policy so that people could have more children, and was credited with slowing down the economy, and also cutting down on corruption within Chinese politics, which had been quite controversial with the international media for some time. So this got translated into a number of languages, and this was almost the start of what is to come.
You mention international media there. You might have seen, as I did, a tweet by our colleague in Beijing, Stephen MacDonald, who was showing the BBC on in China, except for it was a blank screen, censored out, as he said, for showing its version of the Communist Party Congress. But people may have heard about Politburo Standing Committee. Explain what that is and why it's important.
The Politburo Standing Committee is it's basically Xi and the people around him. So while Xi's the president and there's the premier, who's his kind of right-hand man, you'll have a central body of people who are involved in the key decision making within Chinese politics, and there has been quite a lot of international focus in the international media about the actual choosing of these people this year, because a lot of these people have previously worked with Xi Jinping in some capacity, and there's been a lot of attention over the fact that this year most of the men are in their 50s and 60s. They're all Han Chinese, which is the majority ethnic group in China. There are 56 ethnic groups, but there's Han Chinese being the majority. People are asking in international media and media in Chinese language media where it's independent, how come there are no ethnic minorities and how come there are no women within the Politburo this year?
Kerry Allen, thank you very much, giving us a little window into what has happened in China this week.